The Defiant glided silently through the void, its stealth systems rendering it nearly invisible against the backdrop of space. On the bridge, Captain Michael Davis sat with his hands clenching the armrests, his eyes fixed on the main view screen displaying a Busner outpost in the distance. "Status report," Davis commanded, his voice low and tense. Lieutenant Commander Alex Steadman, the ship's tactical officer, responded promptly. "Power to systems at minimal, Captain. No indication that the Busner have detected our presence." Davis nodded, then turned to his sensor officer, Lieutenant Sarah Patterson. "What can you tell me about that outpost, Lieutenant?" Patterson's fingers flew over her console as she analyzed the incoming data. "It appears to be a communications hub, sir. I'm detecting significant energy signatures consistent with their standard comm signals. They also appear to have several energy-type weapon banks and possibly a shield system. This could be a major hub for Busner operations in the sector. If I am reading this right, their designation for it looks like Delta 4X. She shrugged, knowing the symbols she was looking at were not Delta 4 or X, but that is basically what they looked like. "Excellent work," Davis said. "Navigator, bring us in closer. I want detailed scans of their defenses and communication arrays." Lieutenant John Owens, the ship's navigator, adjusted their course with practiced ease. "Aye, sir." Closing to 500,000 kilometers. As the Defiant inched closer to the Busner outpost, the tension on the bridge ratcheted up. They were pushing their stealth technology to its limits, and everyone knew the consequences of discovery. Commander Sarah Foster, the ship's XO, leaned in close to Davis. "Sir," she whispered, "perhaps we should remind the crew of our contingency plan." Davis's jaw tightened, but he nodded. He opened a ship-wide channel. "All hands, this is the captain. As you know, our mission is of utmost importance to Earth's security. I want to remind everyone that in the event of our discovery, we have standing orders to prevent the Defiant or any of its technology or personnel from falling into Busner hands. If detected, we are to immediately set course for the nearest gas giant or star and ensure destruction of the ship and all indication of where we are from. Let's make sure it doesn't come to that." Davis out. A somber silence fell over the bridge as the implications of the order sank in. They were truly on their own out here, with no hope of rescue or reinforcement. Suddenly, alarms lights lit up around the ship. "Captain!" Steadman called out, his voice urgent. "Busner patrol ship on an intercept course. They'll pass within 10,000 kilometers of our position." Davis's mind raced. At that distance, even their advanced stealth systems might not be enough to avoid detection. "Helm, prepare for emergency maneuvers. Engineering, we might need a lot of power all at once." Owens whispered, "Sir, we can try and use docking thrusters. They used compressed gas. We might be able to drift further away without using main engines." He swallowed nervously. It would be good to know if that is stealthy as it seems. The captain listened intently as he watched the view screen in the closing Busner ship. "Make it happen, 10% thrust and then increase gradually." The bridge lights dimmed as the Defiant reduced its energy signature to the bare minimum. The crew held their breath as the Busner ship grew larger on their view screen. 5,000 kilometers and closing, Owens reported, his voice barely above a whisper. "They're scanning," Patel added, her eyes glued to her readouts. The seconds ticked by like hours as the Busner ship passed eerily close. Davis could almost imagine he saw individual viewports on the alien vessel. 1,000 kilometers, Owens said. "They're passing us now." For a moment, it seemed they had avoided detection. Then, Steadman's console lit up. "Captain, they're turning around. I think they've spotted us." Davis's mind raced through their options. They knew a straight-up confrontation would be suicide and leave an Earth ship in the hands of the enemy. If they remained stealth mode, they would eventually be zeroed in on, or so it seemed. He watched the Busner ship, and as it turned for another pass, it was out of position to give chase immediately, and that was the break he needed. "Helm, set course for Fifth Planet," Davis ordered, referring to a nearby gas giant. "Maximum speed, now." The crew exchanged grim looks. They all knew what this meant. As the Defiant accelerated towards the gas giant, the Busner ship closed in. "They're hailing us," Foster reported. Davis shook his head. "No response. Maintain course, jam them if you can." The massive, roiling storms of the Fifth Planet filled their view screen. The Busner ship had been out of position to give chase but was faster than the Defiant. As they neared the gas giant, it was closing to within weapons range. The captain sat at his station working out the trajectory. "Sir?" Owen said, his voice shaking slightly. Owens changed to the vector I just sent over to your console. He addressed the ship. Brace for impact, this is gonna get bumpy. Owens adjusted the course largely thanks to the Loxus engines. Human engines could never have pulled off the last-minute change in direction. The ship bucked and rolled as the red lights seemed to flash in time with a sudden shaking as the Defiant skimmed along the upper atmosphere of the fifth planet. The stealth coating of the ship burning off as the lower decks began to heat up significantly. Davis's eyes widened. Helm, slingshot us toward the closest wormhole point. The Defiant banked sharply, slinging around the planet, and despite the friction of being so close still managed to pick up significant speed. The Busner ship had slowed with their communications jammed and scanning, failing to detect vital details of the stealth ship. From their viewpoint, the Defiant had almost certainly been destroyed. As the Defiant rounded the planet and jamming failed, the return of Busner communications seemed to be confirmation of the intruder in the system's destruction. It took several tense hours to reach the wormhole point. With their stealth coating damaged, their mission was over. As soon as we are in range, open a wormhole and get us out of here, Davis commanded. That was too close, Foster said, running a hand through her hair. Davis nodded, his face grim. But we made it. And the intel we've gathered could be crucial. Set course for home using the standard route. The standard route would take them through a few systems to avoid being tracked back to Earth. They were not sure how likely that was, but it was worth the extra time and energy. As the Defiant continued its journey, now more perilous, they were far from home and no longer had their biggest strategic advantage. Back on Earth, in the depths of Area 51, Dr. Elena Reyes received the latest transmission from Mars. Her eyes widened as she reviewed the data on the new gold isotope. This is incredible, she murmured. They are getting sloppy after their discovery with the titanium. Her assistant, Dr. James Chen, leaned in to look. More gold is not a bad thing. We are going to need lots of it for other space projects. Reyes nodded slowly. They probably rushed to conclusions after we fussed at them for not sharing last time sooner than they did. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. As the team dove into analyzing the new discovery, none of them noticed the small, spider-like robot observing from a hidden corner, its camera recording every detail of their work. In the White House Situation Room, President Albert Chambers listened intently as his advisors debated the latest developments. The Defiant's mission is underway, General Jonathan Madison said. But the intel they could bring back, it's invaluable. And what of Project Pandora? Chambers asked. Dr. Mike Thompson looked grim. We have initial plans. A simple enough vehicle designed around a multi-launch capability. Built for stealth more so than anything else we have built. No crew, an engine to get it where we need it with enough fuel and power to get it within range of the target. Then the payload of nuclear warheads would launch and strike multiple points on the target planet. We could program them based on a random sphere or target-specific features, but we are talking enough nuclear weapons. If they all get through, it won't matter. We do still need a target, and as of right now we do not know where the Busner worlds are yet. As the meeting continued, the weight of their decisions that could determine the fate of the entire human race, hung heavy in the air. Light years away, aboard his flagship, Busner Commander Zex reviewed the report from the patrol ship that had encountered near Station Delta 4X. And you're certain it wasn't a sensor malfunction? He asked his subordinate. No, sir, the officer replied. The energy signature was unlike anything in our database. And its behavior. It was unlike anything we have seen so far. We have scanned for debris but found none. Hours later a wormhole was opened but we never saw by whom. Zex's eyes narrowed as he contemplated the implications. Increase patrols in all sectors. And send word to High Command. I want every ship on alert for similar anomalies. Something is out there, and I intend to find out what. As orders were relayed and plans set in motion, Zex couldn't shake the feeling that he was missing something. The Busner had grown in power so suddenly, and it was only a matter of time before their superiority would be challenged, but how where would those challenges arise was the question. On Mars, Dr. Yuki Tanaka and her team worked feverishly to uncover more of the planet's secrets. The discovery of the new gold isotope had energized their efforts, and they were determined to find what other wonders the red planet might be hiding. Dr. Tanaka, called out Dr. Carl Robertson, excitement evident in his voice. I think we've found something in the Vias Marineris. The readings. They're off the charts. Dr. Tanaka smiled and nodded. Keep looking. Turns out Area 51 turned up errors in our gold deposit research. We need to recalibrate our equipment to avoid future errors and be more careful. As Tanaka hurried over to examine the data, she couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and trepidation. Each new discovery brought them closer to unlocking the secrets of the universe, but it also brought them closer to the attention of forces that might not have humanity's best interests at heart. The Phoenix and Prospector began a dedicated focus on mining and locating resources. Using drone engines to move things toward the lunar and Mars facilities for reclamation and processing. With their new upgrades, this was something of a waste, but the Western Alliance had so few ships, sending them all out of the system seemed unwise. The Audacity would finish upgrades soon, and the Prometheus was closer and closer to completion every day. The Hope was upgraded and stationed near Earth as the sole close support ship for now. The engineers were already working on the next ship to produce. The next ship that would further build on what has been learned from new allies, and from the experience of upgrading the Loxus ships that had been gifted, as well as the production of Prometheus.